Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. You're listening to the newstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Solo and Going Bold. We want to thank you for joining us here today on the Link to Expert Business Showcase. I am one of your hosts, Cece Shatz, and I have my good friend here with me, Joanne Weiland. I am fondly called the doyenne of relationship building. And Joanne Weiland, you are the Collaborative Cloud founder. And so let's talk a little bit about that, the founder and collaborative cloud community called LinktoEXPERT.com. So share a little bit about yourself, Joanne, although you're my good friend.
Well, welcome everyone. We're so glad you're here. And what Cece just said reminded me we're similar but different. That we're really both connectors, and we really want um, to stress how connections is really the key. Because if you're not connecting with other people, they're not knowing what you can do for them or how you can do it for them. And so I really think today's show, we wanted to make sure that we expressed an easy way to stay in front of people that you might want to work with, or that they might want to work with you, or hopefully both, that you want to work with them and they want to work with you. So that I really feel like Cece and I really have always seen the value of connections. And whether it be, like Cece mainly helps lots of singles, and we help lots of business owners, but many singles are business owners, and many business owners are singles, but meaning, we're all intertwined some way. And I don't know about most of you out there, but I feel like usually when I talk to somebody, I'm already thinking who that person needs to connect with. And so I really do feel like connections is really the key. And today we really want to talk about blogs, the importance of blogs, that blogs are not dead. Blogs are actually a really excellent way to get your message across to people, not just what you can do for them, but how you can make their life easier, how you can help them, and in an informative way. Like Cece was saying earlier to me, that people really do relish information. And if you can give them information that will help them, that's priceless right there.
Absolutely. We're all in business, right? And we're in business for a couple of reasons. Number one, we have a passion for what we do. We love what we do, right? The other reason is we got to make some money, right? And so we want to be able to express ourselves in a way that we're not overbearing, and that people can relate to us, be able to understand what we're about, number one, as individuals, but also what our business is about. So they will find, get some sort of bond with us so that they will feel connected, and that they'll hopefully, purchase our products and services or whatever we're about, and follow us maybe on social media, different things like that. So blogging, we're going to talk about blogging today, and blogging is very, very vital with your business. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I was one of them because I'm not a big writer. So I totally get that. Now, Joanne, you got like 10,000 hits on a blog. So you're very, very familiar with not only writing blogs, why they work, what's good about them. We've each written a blog regarding blogs, right? And they're placed on the Link to Expert. So if you go to LinktoEXPERT.com, you'll see our blogs there. I blog through Link to Expert. It's a great business tool. If anyone hasn't heard of it before, I know on our platform here we talk about it a great deal, but I use it. I know that it is Joanne's business, and it's a wonderful service. And we're going to be talking more and more about what Link to Expert has to offer and how it can make it easier for the business owner to be able to use. But let's talk a little bit about, stop the busy work and compose a blog instead, because so often we've talked about that before too, many, many times, just in our personal conversations, how we find ourselves busy, 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 but we don't really feel like we've accomplished anything. So let's talk about the blogs and why they're so important.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned about the busyness. I really do think that the business stands for busyness in many ways. And I really feel like when we can actually just take time to create a document that today we're talking about blogs
Mhm.
that talks to the potential clients out there, how you can really help them and make their life easier and make them understand that you're reputable. Because I think the other thing that sometimes we forget, because we think, what do I have to write about? But consider writing about a project that you recently did.
Mhm.
Consider writing about the outcome of it. Consider writing about the challenges of it. Because a lot of times when we do these projects, and sometimes we do them routinely because we do similar things for different clients, but we don't realize how not everybody understands the importance of that project, or even the depth of what you have to do to accomplish that project. And so you can even, write different steps that you take in, different outcomes that came about, even things that didn't work out. So, because a lot of times we have to do things that don't work before we know what does work. And so there's so many ways you can write about this, and to make it more known of why you are the expert or the go-to person in that particular situation. And the reason blogs is also so important, they can reply to you and you can actually learn what their needs are very simply because they just click on reply, and then
Mhm.
you will receive the information. And I think that a lot of times we don't realize the value of that, because you got to keep it simple for people too that do want to communicate with us. And a blog makes it really simple because of the fact that they read it, but they can like it, write about it, actually the best thing is, of course, when they reply and give you their feedback too. So I just think that that's really key. And
Mhm.
I apologize, I did forget to turn my. So anyway, so go ahead, Cece, and I'll.
You're a business lady in desired there. The phone's already ringing. Well, you know what? I there also something I think we should talk about is there's different types of blogs out there, different types of just like anything. To me, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that a blog is like a conversation on that's written, right? And
Mhm.
so it's kind of like an idea or a thought that you could put in place, and you also want to bring a bit of yourself within that. So often and I just recently wrote a blog about blogs, the different items, and it's more business-like, right? It doesn't really give a twist of my personality or who I am, that kind of thing. So I think it's important when you do a blog is that you do share a bit of yourself a little bit in there. Give a little bit of your own personality as you are writing it. And the reason you want to do that is that number one, you want people to kind of look at you towards being the leader in that particular field, whatever that your field might very well be. And you want them to be able to go to you for that. So you want to be able to establish your authority and all of that. But you also want them to relate to you, be relatable. Because so often I think in business, we're so busy doing our business, A to Z, that we forget about the people themselves. And so I think that the if we look around at some of the major successful businesses out there, they're very relatable to people. People can, feel more at
Yeah.
home with them, and so I mean, I think we have to remember that as we're continuing on with our business and trying to grow our business, we want to continue being relatable. So again, we want to also capture that in our blogs when we're writing our blogs, don't we?
I totally agree, because I think that sometimes when we are known as the expert, maybe they feel like, that you're, so I can't think of another word, but stuck up. And so when you show that you care, that's huge. And so I do agree with you that you need to come across as relatable, because people really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And
Mhm.
when they see that you care about that particular area of expertise, that you help people with that challenge that they're having with it, to be able to overcome it and actually excel from, learning a different way to do whatever that is, because of course every area is different, so we can't really say one size fits all. But when they can see that, wow, somebody else understands this, somebody else knows the challenges of it, somebody else even knows how to fix it. Because if you're like me, I'm a people person, so I'm not a high tech computer person, even though I sold it for 20 years, but I could tell you how it was supposed to work, but I couldn't make it work. And I still have that challenge. I still have a whole team of people that do all kinds of stuff to make my stuff work. And if I wouldn't have them, I- you know, I wouldn't even be on this interview because of the fact that I wouldn't know how to even get on. I know
Yeah.
it sounds silly, but Cece taught me a lot about that. And
Yeah.
so it's
Well,
just,
when you're saying that, I have to laugh because I know that um, we want to hold ourselves out as experts, but the reality is we might very well be experts in our particular field, what field we're in, because we've had training, experience, all of that. But we've gone through the school of hard knocks, and that's what we want to be able to share with those so that they don't have to go through those school of hard knocks. So they can skip some of the hard knocks and maybe they'll have other knocks along the way, but we can eliminate some of them because we've already experienced them. And I think that that's very important, that when you're writing a blog and things, that you can share, the tips of the trade, things that you've learned along the way, that you're actually helping someone. And so it makes it an informative type of document that you want to read. How many times do we get emails with tons of stuff, right? But they're all about advertising. And so the key to a good blog is to not advertise, to
to be
just
informed.
share with your audience some information that they can gain from. But you don't have to advertise to them, because guess what? Your name's all over it. Your website's all over it. They know how to get a hold of you. They will if they want to, right? And so you don't have to advertise every single thing that you do. You can just share. I think that's what's important in a blog, is to just share.
Right, because experts are experts at something, but they're not experts at everything. And
Mhm.
that's what I think happens though, to a lot of people. They feel like they have to know everything about everything. But that's why, going back to what we talked about earlier, connecting and collaborating is so key too. Because many times you know how to fix a piece of the puzzle, but not all of it. But that's the other reason people should know which part you are good at, and maybe that's the part they need right now. Or another person that does a different part of the puzzle has a challenge with that part of the puzzle that they don't understand, so they actually can collaborate and work together as well. And Cece just hit on something important. I think that once you do this too, we really have to remember that we have to put it out there, because it doesn't matter if we do all these blogs every day. Like, I've already written 208, and I didn't even realize that till the other day when I looked it up, how many I had. And that's nothing compared to some people. But I mean, I just ask myself, whatever I'm doing, can I write about this? Because you don't realize how sometimes what you're good at or what you're doing can make a difference in somebody else's life. So if whatever you're doing, because see, that's the other thing I think that I find in my line of work, is that experts are brilliant, but they don't realize they're brilliant because of the fact that it comes so easy for them. Usually what area of expertise an expert has, they think everybody knows that because they just know it off the top of their head, or it's easy for them. And I really think today I would like to ask people to think on that. And then maybe the next step is even ask yourself, who else that I know does this? Because that way you'll see it's not something that's common to everybody else. So when we actually sometimes beat ourselves up, that what do I have to share with the world? Because everybody knows this. But trust me, they don't. Like me being a connector, just as an example, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, I was in my 40s, and I started taking all those tests, personality tests, the DISC, and
Wait,
my,
wait. Wait. You said when you grow up, what you want to be when you grow up, and you were 40.
Well, what it was because all those years, all my life, I always was in
I
corporate
love
sales.
that.
Yeah, but sometimes all of a sudden you realize I want to do something else,
Mhm.
and I call it when you grow up because sometimes you've always done something.
No,
And even,
the reason I said that is because I think it's important because we do when we're younger, right? We think we are going to figure out what our path in life is, right? And then when we get about mid age, right? Like in our 40s, we start looking at our life and saying, "Is this it, man? I mean, is this all I've got?" And so we start really evaluating about what we've done in the past, what we want to do in the future, how can maybe combine that together, what we've learned in our lifetime and move forward. So I think what you said is very valuable because I think
oh,
it is true that no, I know because you and I tease a lot, and so we're really good friends, and so I don't want you to think that, but I think it's important because I've asked myself. I mean, when I got divorced, I did the same thing in my 50s. I said, "Oh my God, where's my life now? What am I going to do? And how am I
right.
going to continue to move forward?" And so it was a pivotal change for me. So you had a pivotal change at 40, which I get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
And and I really thank you for saying that because I really do think, and sometimes things are for a time and a season.
Mhm.
Okay, so you might have did that in my case for 40 years, and I was happy, but was I wanting to continue doing that? So when I started taking those tests, basically it came back every one I took that I was a connector.
Mhm.
And the example here with the connector was I said to myself, well, big deal. Everybody is. Because all my life in sales, I was always doing global alliances. I was connecting people, I mean, across nations as well as states, across the street, whatever. I mean, I just always, like I said a little bit ago, I meet people and I think right away, wow, you meet Cece or whatever. She could really help you put a show together, for an example,
Right?
on this particular topic, because I don't know of any shows that are doing this. So when I kept saying I was a connector, and I just thought, big deal, that's when I started asking myself, who else is connecting you? You connect people every day, all day, and you think everybody else is, but who is? I remember when cell phones first came out in the 90s, I got my first one, and long story short, the I couldn't add any more people. And I went to Nextel. Nextel was a carrier at that time.
Mhm.
I said, "What's wrong with my cell phone? I can't add any more people." They took it, they looked at it, they said, "We never knew anybody that knew more than 800 people." And it had maxed out at 800. Again, I'm a connector, so I had these people in my phone, so I could easily, quickly, connect them when I found somebody that needed them. And of course, now there's thousands in my phone because now I don't know if it's even limited anymore. But the point is that I'm trying to get across. I thought everybody did what I did. And I found they didn't. And that's what I'm trying to encourage our listeners and viewers to consider what you're doing. Ask yourself, do I love doing this? Who else is doing it? What can I, how can, because the next question I had, I'll just be totally transparent. Well, how would I monetize that? Because a lot of times when we think we're going to do what we love, they think
Mhm.
there's no money. And they always say, do what you love and the money will follow. Well, I understand, but I was just trying to figure out, well, I did this all my life. And the reason I did make money when I was in corporate sales, because when I did connect people, then I usually get a sale because I connected them with somebody that could help them fix that particular challenge. And then they would need to buy my kind of computer products that I was selling at the time. But then I was like,
Mhm.
well, when you're on your own, though, it's different. It's like, well, how will this work? And that's not that I want to get back into Link to Expert at this time, the details of it, but meaning that's why I created that so you could find an expert, check out all their credentials, and hire them in minutes. Because I did find when I was in corporate, the people that did hire people, it took months, and I knew we had to come up with an easier, quicker way for people to find different experts. So I just wanted to share that. Don't think what you do, nobody else knows, everybody else knows how to do it. You might be one of the only ones. And even if you're not the only one, how is yours different than other people, and how can you promote that? You're kind of like your niche. Does that
Right.
make sense?
we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit more about, the elements of the blog, what the reasons why you should do a blog, and, things that might help you to do a blog. Because I know when I first started, one of my friends had said, "Oh, you need to start doing a blog." And I'm like, "What?" I mean, I'm talking, I'm doing all this stuff, on the radio, the video, and all this stuff, and I'm thinking, now I gotta try to write it all out. And so let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk about the elements of a blog so that you know how complicated it can be and how simplified it can be. So it's very, very easy to do. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get back. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about how I got 10,000 hits on the blog, which I think is just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So you guys are listening to Link to Expert Business Showcase. This is on newstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Solo and Going Bold, and our wonderful radio station called WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are so pleased to have you here with us, and we'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Link to Expert Business Showcase. I am one of your hosts, Cece Shatz, the doyenne of relationship building. I have my wonderful friend here, Joanne Weiland, with me. She is the Chief Connections Officer and the founder of collaborative cloud community called Link to Expert, LinktoEXPERT.com, who is our sponsor for this particular show. So we want to reach out and thank, of course, Joanne for sponsoring the show. We do appreciate it. You're listening to newstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Solo and Going Bold, and WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. So we are so pleased to have you back here with us. We're talking today about how I got 10,000 hits on a blog, stop the busy work and compose a blog. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the elements of blog. We've talked about, really the importance, a little bit of importance of it, and, not be fearful of writing a blog. It doesn't have to be, there's no, I don't think there's any, so many, you have to do so many words on a blog, do you?
No, you don't. And that's what's interesting. And I actually feel like that's important to know. Everyone is, different. And it's not so many words, is actually what's going to grab them. And make sure where you post them, because when you post them, I think a lot of people too might even write blogs, but I just thought I'd go over the top 4 places I think that you should also place your blogs. So if you have a website, I would prominently put it on the website, because it also shows that you have new information. So if you can even somehow put it on your homepage, that to go to your blog page, just because of the fact that that's another way you get search engine optimization, because of the fact that you have new information. The other one is put it on your social media platforms. If you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, X, excuse me, different platforms that you're on, post it there too, because that way other people will know to go to read it, or have a link to it is what I would recommend too. And then if you have a newsletter, definitely put that in your newsletter. And that also shows new information. And then the last one, like you're now, like Cece said, that, we have guests often on the show, for an example. So then if you're on a show like ours, you take that link, and you also, when you put it in the blog, write a blog, you can put that link in and say, hey, we also talked about this on this TV show, internet TV show, this podcast, whatever, that, because ours is a TV, radio, and podcast. So you can actually say that you're on all 3, but make sure that you also include that in a blog and have the link to it, because that also gives you more credibility too, because in the blog now you're showing that you've actually been interviewed about that topic as well. So I just thought I'd remind people that that's important. And then getting into what Cece was talking about, she actually came up with, I think it's 10 different ways to be able to um, write a blog, creatively,
Yeah, there
but
was like different. I'm trying to think. I'll go through it just really quickly,
okay.
just the highlights as to why, and then you go on and link to expert, and I'll share it. I'm probably on some other places too. But the top 10 reasons business leaders should blog. One is to establish authority and leadership, engage and build relationships with the audience, enhance brand visibility, humanize the brand. That's what I'm saying. Humanize it. You can add some funny things in or whatever. Drive traffic and generate leads. Stay ahead of the industry trends. Support talent recruitment and retention. Different, I can never say the word, of your competitors. So know the difference.
Differentiator.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And foster, just new ideas, spark new ideas and things like that. Encourage open communication. And the bonus tip is blogs can be repurposed into newsletters, social media posts, white papers, and maximizing the value of the content. That is a key thing that we can actually use the blogs. So, like, we can use these videos, create blogs from the videos, then do all these other little things. So it's like you can do a lot of different things. And a friend told me a long time ago when I was stressing out doing a blog, they said, go and look at other people's blogs and then comment about their blog and then write your opinion about their blog. And all you have to do is just put their link of the blog that you're referring to in your blog, and there you got a double hitter, because not only are they going to read your blog, they're going to read their blog, and then hopefully they'll do the same thing to you. So a lot of people do that. You'll notice a lot of people will do that, and they're helping each other. So yeah, so it's a great. So if you've got like and I don't know, I don't think there's any competitors in my field. There's no competitors, because we're all trying to help others out there. And so you go with someone else that's in your field and do something like that, piggyback off of each other, and it's a win for both of you.
Exactly. Going back to the collaboration, it
Mhm.
is true that about repurposing your blog. And like you said, you can actually comment on theirs, that hopefully they'll comment on yours. But even if they don't, somebody else might, because you started the energy of respirati. Now I can't say a word either.
Yeah, I'm
But
so bad. I mean, I'm just
reciprocating to each other, because I feel like when you put it out there and give, you receive it. And it's not usually the same person or way that you gave, but it's all just getting that positive energy out there, helping each other, knowing that we're collaborating, helping each other, that we're not, you know, just self-centered, thinking of only of ourselves. And you really truly, it's amazing how, like you said earlier, that you might even then find another expert that does something similar, but they do a different part than you
Mhm.
enjoy doing or want to do, or they're certified and you're not in that part, or they're certified. It just, there's so many possibilities, but you just have to just be willing to put it out there. And I know a lot of people tell me, well, I don't want to give away all my secrets. Well, you don't have to give every single detail, but if you can at least give them ideas of what type of problems you can solve for people, and a general idea of what you can do for them. And I really think that is huge, because a lot of people, they wouldn't even want to know all the details. Like if a plumber comes to my house, I don't need to know every single thing he's doing. I just know he fixed my leaky faucet. So but I mean, that's more general than I think you should be, but I really do believe that that makes such a difference. So thank you for sharing. Did you have any more of those you wanted to go more in depth on, Cece?
No, they can read the blog and do that, but if you go that way. But like, okay, let's take the plumber, right? Let's take the plumber, when he can do a blog and he can talk about all different kinds of things in plumbing. He can talk about, now we're getting into cold weather, right? What do you do to minimize your pipes from bursting? What are the latest trends in faucets? And, so there's a lot of different things that you can do a short little blog on, right? And insert pictures in your blogs. You got to remember, people are visual, so they do like to look at things. So you put pictures in your blogs, but you need to make sure that your pictures are ones that you can post. So you got to be careful on
Yes.
copyright. So always be careful of that. But yeah, so you can be creative and do different things like that. You can just do fun blogs. Like I did a blog about when we were stuck in the hurricane,
Yeah.
with all in the house with like all these women and stuff, and what that was like. That was, and it was fun, and it was a beautiful experience. So, I wrote about that. You can write about anything you want to write about, and you can do it just one or two paragraphs if you want, and throw a picture in it. So it doesn't have to be something that's long or anything like that. So yeah, so you can do. I'm sorry, I'm getting a call now. We're getting popular. So, but yeah, so you just do what you want to do in the blog. So there's not regulated, but just remember that your blog is a reflection of you. So you want to make sure that that you put in a blog what's going to be, good for you.
But I like what you brought up about the hurricane blog that you posted
Mhm.
because of the fact that sometimes too we do need to remind people that we're human. And I think once they are following you and reading your blogs regularly, they actually love to hear about, like how you survived the hurricane. Just as an example, maybe somewhere you went on vacation and talked about it, because I feel like sometimes we try to be so stuffy and people really still buy for people and they don't even have to like you, but they need to trust you. So I think the most important thing that you can put in there is the trust factor, that you can convey again case studies, different things that you've done for different people so that they know when they hire you, when they work with you, they can trust you. So I really think that's important too, instead of a lot of the people are, I think if it's not professional, it nobody will read it, but I actually think that they would enjoy that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think you share a glimpse of yourself, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's important. And if you're an expert, a true expert in your field, people gravitate to you because of that. And they also want to learn more about you, both in your field and then personally, because they kind of want to know, what makes you tick and why you do what you do, right? Why do you love doing what you do? And so they want to understand you a little bit more, and they want that connection. And so I think we as individuals don't realize the value of what we can give someone else. So a blog, you can definitely do that. And if they're saying more and more now that with Google and all of that, it is important to have a blog up, something written that you're constantly changing, and so it's good for your SEO. So it's a great thing to do. So we just have to start doing a little bit more of the blogs. We also have to remember, and I know I have a hard time with this, is that individuals learn in different ways, right? And so they could be visual, right? Which is why we do our videos. They can be, audio, which is why we have it drop down into podcasts and radio. And then also, they want to read something and, keep their minds abreast with that. And so we are, and I know I am, from the old school. And so we still read hardcover books, we still buy or the soft covered books, we still buy books, we still read. And so blogs are still a way of doing that, to be able to capture those. The other thing you can do is you can take your blogs, and if you have several of them together, they're a written format. Now, this is a tip for you. You can take several of them that are in the same category, put them together, and guess what? You have different chapters in a book. So there you go. So
I
there's a
actually
lot of things you can repurpose, right?
exactly. I mean, getting into more of what you're saying, your blog can be a V blog, a video blog. It can
Hmm.
be an audio blog. It can be the written blog, or you can put even some of the videos or the recordings in your written blog. And that's why Cece and I mean, we're actually live on 5 different TV shows to see the video, and then she takes off the video, and we're on 50 some audio podcast and radio shows. And so see the power of repurposing it. Then we usually write a blog about it and send it out, and often even a press release and sending it to our media contacts as well. There's so many ways you can keep going with that same content and repurpose it to make it fresh and new, but yet similar to what your core is going on in there. So I really do think that people don't realize the power of the blog. And I did want to, before I know we've run out of time, I did want to let everybody know, I think it's also powerful of the title of the blog, because what I find is some of my blogs, a lot of people read, some not so as many. One time I had a blog and I only had 333 hits, and I was wondering why. And I looked at the title, and I think it was like 10 words. And I thought, just out of curiosity, I wonder if I shortened the title, what would happen, and change up the blog a little bit. I did, and I converted the title to "Why You," 2 words with a question mark, "Why You." I had over 10,000 hits in 3 days. I mean, it was just amazing to me to remember that it's not always what you're saying, it's also how you're gonna grab them, because don't forget, they're out there getting lots of information. So how do you differentiate yourself? And maybe it's that they, I don't know, but my thought was that maybe when they saw that it was only 2 words, they thought they could quickly read it, versus when they saw it was 10 words, they was thinking it was long. I mean, sometimes you also even see that. I see it a lot of times when people say how long it'll take you to read this, 5-minute read or 10-minute read or whatever. So I just wanted to remind everybody too, that it really is important to grab them in some way, in some kind of title that, is something that they will want to look at or read. And it doesn't always have to be just 2 words. I don't mean that, but I just was
I think it's important for it to interrupt. I think it's important not to make it too long, because sometimes a lot of writers are great in writing the blogs. They're fabulous at writing the blogs, but they make the titles so long that, when you go to read it, you're like, oh, I don't have time for this, so I'm not going to read that one, So, so keep it short and sweet, get to the point and make it a little bit exciting to be able to do that. Before we close out, though, I just want to share, I brought up my blogs from the LinktoEXPERT site, and I just wanted to let you know, like I posted about maybe an hour and 20 minutes ago, right? About an hour ago, the blog for 10 reasons business leaders should blog. I already have 31 hits on it, right? So I would say most of the time I range around the 400 mark of my blogs that are here. Like I've got Popping Success, How Popcorn Popping Mirrors Building a Business with New Streaming Network. So, popping success. And so I thought, well, that's kind of funny, how popcorn popping. And I thought, make it a little bit different. But I think I made it a little bit long. I should have just cut that out and just said, how popcorn popping builds success in business. And I probably would have gotten more hits on that. But that one was 448. But I will tell you, I had one in here that was 2,911 hits. There's one, the truth behind our facial expressions is 575 hits. Wow. I have one here, which is, it's just tuning in to how to get booked for speaking everywhere. And that one is 620. So, I mean, we've got a lot of, the art of letting go, releasing your limitations, 575. So again, this shoots out to 95,000 people. I mean, 95,000 people, right? And so, so we don't always get all of the ones that actually open it and look at it. But, the ones that come on the site and actually do open it there, we do get it. But then think about it. Then you put it on your social media. You put it on some of your other platforms. I'm on patch.com. I put my blogs on there too. So you put them on different places. But I think Link to Expert is truly a great, to me, it was a great find. And I'm really pleased to be part of the Link to Expert um, individuals in business doing business as an expert on Link to Expert. So check it out, LinktoEXPERT.com. I think you'll be very happily surprised at the outcome with that.
But I
So
just wanted to add that we really do distribute it, though. We don't wait for people to come to us. I think
right.
that's the key. We actually distribute it in so many ways. Actually, as soon as you put a blog up, we email it to all of your contacts automatically for you. We also have the newsletter that goes out twice a month that goes out to the 95,000 people too. We put it on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter that we have, tens of thousands of people on each one. And so we do believe in distributing it because of the fact that if you're just going to wait for everybody to try to find you, I'm sorry, but you're going to have a long wait. But that's why we do our best to get it in front of the right people consistently and frequently. And we've been doing that for over 10, 12 years, sending it out to all these people. And that's why many people have, a lot of people that are following them or replying to them or at least reading their information to know about them. So it's really key. We really need to expose our expertise to be able to grow our businesses. And we
Now,
just
one last question: how often should someone blog?
Well, I actually did some research, and some people only say once a month, and
Mhm.
I personally think twice a month, but everybody's different. But if you could do it twice a month, I think that would be key. Because I also found when I used to do them every week, sometimes people would opt out just because, it was too much. I don't know about you, but sometimes I get emails every day from some person, or sometimes even five from that same person. I think you can abuse your expertise too, if you will. So
Yeah.
I think, personally, if you would take time to every 2 weeks write one, and you'd be surprised how many things really happen over 2 weeks that
Mhm.
would be interesting to let others know. Because I
Mhm.
really think that, and the other part about it, that when you're doing them about a client, you might even want to get a testimonial from them, something that they can say, and you can put in the blog that, like you were using the plumber as an example, and I
Mhm.
had a plumber, and I would give him a nice testimonial about his service and how prompt he was, how clean, he cleaned up or whatever and fixed my faucet. So I really think that's another thing that we forget sometimes. Ask who we're working with or even collaborating with to also give something to add to the content.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea. Well, there's a lot more we could share with you about blogging, but you'll just have to go and read our blogs, right? So that you can get all the detailed information. So just go to linktoexpert.com and you'll find our blogs right there. We're going to have to close out the show. It is so great being here with you today. You guys are listening to newstreamingnetwork.com, which is home of Going Solo and Going Bold, and our WGSN-DB Going Solo network radio stations. We want to thank you all for listening to us, watching us on our Roku channel, which is New Streaming TV. We so appreciate that. This is Link to Expert Business Showcase. I have my good friend here, Joanne Weiland, who is the founder of the Link to Expert. So just check it out, linktoexpert.com. I think you'd be very, very pleased with that. I am so very happy to be here with you each and every time. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now, everyone.